you look at your day and 2 of them are current clients, you look forward to going back.
That's true. You keep going back to the origin. You keep going back to the beginning to remind people out there, like, you didn't show up like this.
And now I've realized I want people to think of me. You know, I want them to think of me.
Right.
And I want to show that I'm thinking of them.
Thank you for joining us on our Family First Life Tri-State Serve the People podcast. We appreciate you tuning in, spending your time to develop and grow with us. Follow us, please, on all our social media platforms at Family First Life Tri-State or FFL Tri-State. We love you. Keep listening, and I hope this information is serving you across the country.
All right. Good news. Back in the booth. In studio this time with Danielle Byrne, Executive Vice President of FFL Legacy, elite producer, 5-time, probably working on 6. Hall of Fame producer at Family First Life. Insane consistency. And she is back in her home state of New Jersey with us in studio. And we get some more of this seasoning that we were working on. The seasoning from a few weeks ago that we now get live and in person. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here. This is so awesome. I love
We're
it.
super excited to have you. And as you know, it doesn't take long for us to get the fire started. But today, what I'd like to do, Danielle, because you've seen more clients than most people will ever see, but you've also seen more clients more than once than most people will ever see. Like you go back year in and year out, you revisit the situation, what's going on, you add new coverage, you change policies, you add people to coverage, you look at their financial situation, it changes. Sometimes in 6 months, 12 months, they can get inheritances, things happen. And it's important that you know better than most that these clients really are our clients for life. So if you can kind of talk to us a little bit about that vantage point that you have from, farming the same soil for years and also planting new seeds in that soil, but also harvesting in that soil.
Absolutely. What came across my mind as you were doing that fantastic intro was the fact that it didn't start out that way.
Right.
And not only that, honestly, Mark, I'm just being real. I didn't want to do it. I get the whole building trust in the home on the first impression. I get the whole filing the death claim if somebody dies. I get all that. But what I couldn't get was I guess I would call it motivation to actually sit down and do like an annual review with somebody. And something happened along the way. I can't exactly pinpoint when it was. It could have been when I started to, number 1, get some referrals. Number 2, clients started to die. Number 3, I would get an occasional phone call. Hey, we just sold a house, we got some extra money. And then I thought to myself, this right here is my future.
Interesting.
And I'm not doing anything about it.
Wow.
And, I have this one couple who, by the way, was a final expense mailer from the Social Security summer. Okay.
You're crazy.
It was.
That's
it
great.
was. It was. And we're not interested. We don't need that, the whole deal. And being that he was a late 50s smoker, he wasn't that interested. We did something small, and he was not 59 and a half, and he had a pretty large 401k, but there wasn't anything I could do because most employers, you can't move until you're 59 and a half. And so anyway, he ends up calling me. I must have mentioned what I did for a living, and he ends up calling me and saying, I can't believe it. I just got let go from my job, And my first thought was, we got to protect that 401k money. And this guy has been an ever-loving pain in the you-know-what since. But because I think they really liked me. And like, that didn't really occur to me. You know, it didn't really occur to me. And they're like, hey, we got 60,000. Hey, we got this. Hey, we got that.
Right.
And then he calls me. He's like, we haven't seen you in a year. What's going on? And I'm thinking, Danielle, this is like fertile soil. Like, what is wrong with you? You know? And when I saw them the other night, and I show up, and they've already had 2 drinks, and they're like, I mean, I'm telling you, Mark, and I'm like, Danielle, what is wrong with you? You know? It's like, how much clearer can it be
That's good.
that you really realize? And let me tell you something. I've realized I have to stop telling people that I'm going to go back on an annual review for an annuity or an insurance policy if I'm not going to do it.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And now more than ever, what you say to people and then not do matters.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like osmosis how that happened. And, you know, of course, there was a couple gut punches as far as like deaths were concerned,
Right.
where I had to move the annuity over quick to the spouse or what have you. And, you know, and then I just thought to myself, you've written a lot of insurance, and by no means am I done. But if you don't foster these relationships, you're really not helping your future. You know, how nice is it when somebody calls you and says, hey, I'm looking for a policy for so-and-so. Like, there's no battle. There's no nothing. You know? And I'm thinking to myself, maybe DB could finally use a couple breaks here. You know? Like, you know? And now I've realized I want people to think of me. You know? I want them to think of me.
Right.
And I want to show that I'm thinking of them.
Wow. That's really good, you know, because forever it's
been a hit it and quit it, you know? It has
You
been.
took the word from me. I was totally going there.
But I did.
You know, and it's like, why not? Right?
Lack of discipline,
Right.
lack of motivation.
Lack of motivation, dude.
Which is a finite resource, by the way.
It's true. And by the way, as you said, they were there waiting for you, half partying. And it's like, what do you think's going to happen here?
Right.
Number one, we're coming to service, no matter what. Whether it's beneficiary still good, you know, banking information still good. What's going on? What's changed in work? I want you to get into this. What is it like on the go back in this current client deal?
So first and foremost, right? Let's say you've never done this before. How easy, if somebody still has a policy in force with you, is it to get back into the house?
Very.
Right?
Very.
We don't even need a script, but if you
Right.
want one, it's, hey, I'm coming over.
Right.
Right? And then when you go back, and I know this because I've done it wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've written beneficiaries down on paper apps, you know, back in
Right.
2015. Didn't put a
Paper
phone
apps.
number, didn't put a date of birth, you know, nothing. And didn't verify any of that stuff. So even if you go back just to say, hey, I want to do a beneficiary check. I want to do, hey, are you still comfortable with 10,000? You know, the average funeral 16 or what have you, you know, bump it up a couple little bit. There's always an opportunity, whether it seems like there is or not.
Right.
You know? And so that conversation. Now, how good were you at asking for annuity opportunities in the beginning?
Right.
Probably not very.
Right.
You may have said, "Do you have anything that acts like life?" No, okay, got it, you know.
Right, yeah.
And you probably weren't very good. I mean, John was just telling me a story about a guy that he's had since 2013, and he went back the other day and got statements, like left with statements in his hand.
Yeah.
And honestly,
done.
you know,
That's done.
it's like
That's rolled money.
Right.
Statements from a former client is rolled money.
Right.
You know, isn't that crazy?
And I'm telling you, when John's talking to me, I'm hearing, Danielle, don't get emotional. I'm hearing the confidence, right, that he has in his voice.
Right.
Because he saw the impact on this guy's statement. If I told you, you'd fall off your chair. Right? Well, more money, more problems, right? Like, you know? And he's looking at this situation. You could see it in John's eyes. You could see the pain that was on the wife's face when they logged in, right?
Wow.
You could see that. you could see the fact that John's looking at them going, they're getting older, you know, and they get older,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
and he only went back because Mutual of Omaha couldn't find the bank account for some reason,
Right.
you know, that was the only reason he went
crazy.
back, you know, and
That's nuts.
and if I was, you know, I look at my whole insurance career and I think I could have learned things a lot faster, but you know what? Not really.
Right.
You know, everybody's learning curve. I listen to Mindy and I'm like,
She's unbelievable.
jeez. I'm like, you know, she's like, we're rolling, you know, and I'm like, oh, I have zit on my face, you know, like, I mean, she's smooth as can be,
Right.
you know. She had some phone objections that I was like, jeez, I never heard that before, you know? And there's always another layer.
Right, true.
And even if you don't know what you're talking about,
Right.
when you go into the home and you introduce yourself and you say what you do, you want people to think of you when it comes to their assets, right? Like their assets, their rental properties. Let me tell you, as they get older, they're going to be selling those rental properties.
Right.
You know, another quick story. I had a client that did a $75,000 annuity back in like 2016. He calls and back and forth. He's referred his friend to HVAC for me because I'm a female, worried about getting taken advantage of, so on and so forth. But we weren't really close or anything. He called me the other day, and he's like, "Hey, Pam and I had to sell one of our rental properties, and we wanted to know if there was anything we could do with this money, like you did with our other money." Now, my mind is doesn't always go to the most positive thought. I'm thinking he's calling because he didn't get any interest on his last Athene statement.
Got it.
They don't care.
Right.
I cannot tell you how much they don't care. And it's not that they don't care, it's that they're not looking at it. If you've ever seen an Athene statement or any
Right.
other annuity statement, it said -17.
Right.
Then the next column said 0.
Right.
Meaning they didn't go -17, they got 0.
Right. Got it.
Because for all practical purposes, the market's down 23% year to
Right,
date.
correct.
Right? So that particular index was down -17.
Right.
You know, he's not mad at me.
Right.
He wanted to give me money,
Right.
you know, so call back. You know?
But for that purpose, that was a fixed index. He lost nothing.
Correct. That's my point.
He's calling me to give me money.
You know? I mean, that's just it, though, because people think they need to understand everything.
Right.
Right? And you
Agents, you mean?
Agents, yes.
Right.
Agents, they think they need to understand everything before they go in the home. And I've never even written a prosperity term, right?
Right.
I have the underwriting guide saved on my computer, but I've never written one.
Right.
Could I? Sure.
Yeah.
Just same way you could write an annuity.
Right. Correct.
You don't
That's
have
good.
to. You do not have to be an expert. You don't have to be an
It's a
expert.
really good analogy.
You know.
That's great. And all this stuff you uncover as you get into it, and it that you know how leads are addicting. I'm willing to gather
Oh.
that you found a little bit of an addiction in now this current client space.
Yes.
Talk about that.
So the addiction is when you've put the work in to learn this whole business and you look at your day and 2 of them are current clients, you look forward to going back.
That's true.
You know,
That's
you
very
really
true.
do.
Very true.
And
No matter what.
yeah.
No matter what. Because you know if you just put 5 a week in.
Phew. It's just silly, you know? Oh, and I got a story. I got another story for you. I got this agent. This is nuts.
Crazy,
This
right?
is nuts. I got this agent who, yeah, you know the families who are chronic form filler outers, right? They're always filling out forms.
Yes.
Well, I met with this couple, I don't know, a few years back, and the husband was banged up, and I wrote him some life insurance, and I tried to get back in front of the wife for her retirement. I tried like heck. Didn't work. Then all of a sudden I see new forms coming in from them, and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me, you know? And I actually had been fed up at that point because I had been no-showed a few times,
Right.
and I was kind of done. So I gave it to this agent, and I said, get in the house, and I'll take care of the rest, you know? So he's texting me while he's in the house, and he says, she's in the process of moving her money from A, right? I said, she said that 4 years ago. She's lying, And the truth was, she was in her mind, right, in the process.
Right.
She wasn't in the process.
Right. Got it.
She wasn't.
That's great.
And I said, let's get back there. And, we did. And so we're in the process of helping them right now. But like my point is if you take pretty copious notes, you'll remember these things.
No doubt.
And I don't forget, 180 grand that's now 149. I don't forget that.
Right, correct. Now, how do you handle now referrals? What are you doing to get referrals actively and that whole marketplace?
So here's what I found. I don't have a great system as it comes to referrals, but here's what I do have. So insurance drip, right? It's extremely valuable, and you don't even see the value in it when you're doing it, because you're pinging these people, once a month, once a quarter, and reminding them that you exist, right? And also the referrals, if you do a strong enough in-home, the referrals just pour out, right? Also, another way that I just find referrals happen is, number one, you take care of people. But number two, when you present yourself at the beginning and you're there for the mortgage protection or you're there for the final expense, just make it very clear what else you do. I never used to do this, Mark, but now I do give a business card at the beginning. I used to think that was a shot in the foot. I used to think if I did that.
It's so funny what time and experience and will do for you, because I agree with you. Like, I'm giving you my business card in the beginning, and then not only that, like, it's funny the perch you're at now. Like, you see the business differently because you survived. You committed to harder times when you needed all of this.
All of it.
And now it comes so natural. You still need it. You don't need it as much, but your natural skill set has overridden the actual need. And it's like it flows out of you now. So it's like you can literally walk in the house and tell everyone to do a 360 pirouette, go upstairs, get the check, pour you a glass of water, and you're going to be writing a policy in 5 minutes. It feels like that sometimes.
It does. And I don't even forget what you said when you were in the field. I don't know if we were on film or not, but you were like, sometimes I walk in and I ask for the social right up front.
But that's a different confidence place, right?
It is.
Like, I'm not doing that in the beginning, like when I start.
No.
I'm just trying to make sure, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But we're talking to, when I get to sit with you, DB, I get the vantage point of someone who's weathered the tough times in this business. A lot of people won't weather the tough times in this business. They never get to where you're at. And where you're at is this, it's almost automatic that you're going to do your numbers every single year with no matter what the effort level is, because your skill set is so high, and it's a unique place because a lot of people that I know don't make it here. And I don't know why. Like, this is the place to be.
Oh, it's a great place.
Where, again, you have so many current clients. You can get new leads. You can handle pretty much anything from phone script all the way to, $1 million annuity. And none of it seems like out of your reach.
But to take us back, though, Mark, and if there's one thing that someone got from this today, I promise you that the basics of this business must be burned in your brain.
That's a good one.
I mean, they have to be burned in your
That's
brain,
true. That's
Mark.
true. Yeah.
And nobody laid it down like you in the beginning. It was like, you dial, you had it all mapped out. You know what I mean? And finding somebody, again, like I said last time, that you can remain accountable to, because look, I love my kids, but I don't look at them and think I need to hit the phones, right? But having that thought of what you want maybe to do for them or
Yeah.
with them, or what does it look like in a year,
Right.
that is that consistent, that consistent flow there. And it's funny though, because I do want to say it again. You should be able to find some trainings that emulate your personality, whether that's phone script, in-home, whatever, what have you, and repeat and repeat and repeat. I, for some reason, need a lot of repetition.
Right.
All the books that I like, I'm back. I re-listen to them. I got a short attention span, so like 40 minutes on that one, then 40 minutes on that one. But I re-listen. I re-listen because then when I'm in front of the client, it comes out and I'm like, oh, did I just say that? That's great.
Crazy.
So if you're a new agent and you're just hearing this thinking, oh gosh, it's not gonna, it's so long away.
Right.
I wish I had that vision when I started with you to know what that was actually gonna be like. I had no idea.
And neither did I. Right? I mean, like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And to your credit, I mean, when the first time I met your father, he looks at me, he goes, she's quite the sponge, isn't she? I go, she is. You couldn't have used a better word than sponge. Like, just absorption, immense absorption, drip. You know what I mean? And that's you in a nutshell. And it's, when you say burned in your brain,
Yeah.
dude, that's the life we lived. You know what I mean? We lived, hey, give me your brain. I'm branding it. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, and you choose, right? So here's that's a great point. You choose. So you can choose a W-2 position for somebody and help make their dreams come true, right? You have to burn their process in your brain. You have to.
Yeah.
Otherwise you lose your job, right? So why don't you choose what process you're gonna commit to?
Fact.
And if that process is yourself, then you get to wake up on January 1st and decide what you're going to make that year, instead of, hey, this is the position, this is the salary, and here's your here's your
now
path.
talk to somebody who says that they wake up on January 1st. They are business. They run their own business. In our business, you choose, you say, to get to make what you want to make. You choose to be an elite producer every year. Some people say by December 31st, 20, whatever, I want to be here. And then the work they do doesn't equate to that. How do you speak to that person to try to help them understand that they have the choice, and the choice is great, but how do we now act out the verbal or the mental process of that choice?
That's a great question, and I will be as transparent as possible here and tell you, I don't know, 3 years ago I hired a life coach. I'm not sitting here telling you to get a life coach. I think that it was a waste of money. But what I'm going to say is, I think that we look for other things to help keep us accountable and forget, again, like the basics. I think people over-project their year-long goals because it's way too far out. I think if you set up your week with discipline and you start out on that I mean, starting is the absolute first step. But if you start and you map out with, whether that's your Google Calendar, or you map it out with your planner, whatever the case may be, and you have a few steps there, and you get micro with somebody and say, this is how many leads I'm going to buy. This is how many appointments I'm going to set. Mindy was not confused. She was not confused about what happens when she only books 6 appointments.
Right.
She wasn't confused about what happens when she books 15.
Right.
And I think taking things in small increments, first of all, it makes you feel good.
Right.
Because I know I feel good when I unload the dishwasher. I'm like, I did that. You know what I mean? And it took me, 8 minutes,
That's
Whereas
true.
if I sit on the couch in my head, it's taken me like an hour and a half.
That's so crazy.
You
I love
know?
the way you said that.
It's just, it's true, And I find sometimes that those little tiny goals, they all compound into big things.
Wow.
And think about
That's
it.
good.
Would you rather take this boulder and push it up a hill or push it down?
Woo.
Right? I mean, because I'm at the point where it's going down now.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm done learning. I'm
Sure.
never am.
No.
But pushing it up the hill is not dialing on your dial days.
Right.
Right? Not
Yeah.
dialing, not going to pick up the checks, not helping the families,
Right.
and getting yourself organized, which for all practical purposes, I'm still learning, and I do a lot better. I do a lot better than I used to.
Right.
But the organization is key. And
Right.
if you can afford staff that have the opposite personality traits of you, if you're somebody that does struggle with organization, that's a positive. But
gold, yeah.
but if not, why people don't have another thing too though, Mark, I think that there's a lack of confidence sometimes and belief in people, and I think that a lot of people are listening to the voices around them and taking those voices as, well, how about this, like, nobody in my family ever was successful.
Right.
Nobody in my family ever had money.
Right.
Well, we don't do that, or
Right.
whatever that old
Sure.
story is.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to show my age. Rip the tape out, right? Right. Rip the tape out. Break the CD in half, pull the plugs, snip the wire, whatever it is, and don't repeat that. You have a choice not to repeat that.
Right.
You have that choice. It's not about whether you graduated college. It's not about what side of the tracks you were born on.
True.
I mean, we have so many agents here that show us that anybody can do this.
Right.
It's a matter of those who decide.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, what do you think Steve G's week looks like? Do you think it's like, let's see what happens? Let's just,
Let's see what happens.
It's not how that goes. It's not how it goes. And you've always been very micro. Like, you're very macro, but you've always been very micro. So, like, when I would call and say that, I was about to quit, right, and that I fired myself, you would say, all right, well, what did your day look like? You would ask these questions that would pinpoint everything.
Right.
Oh, well, that's probably why I feel like crap right now, because
Right.
I only had 3 appointments, or whatever the case may be.
Got it.
There's no positive momentum there.
Got it.
So it's kind of the best thing that I can offer there. But I would say, don't go to all these outside resources. Find somebody that you want to be like.
Right.
Find someone that you want to emulate. Don't hesitate. Ask them for help. Ask them how they structure their week.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's great. And I've always, I've done both. I've done it with staff. I've done it with mentors. I try to get everything. I need as much help as I could possibly get, a lot of the times. Now, advanced markets, you've been an advanced markets queen, if you will, which, again, everyone misses the point that if you've collected the most statements, that means you've gotten stood up the most on the second appointments.
Took the words out of
You know
my
what I'm
mouth.
saying? Like, so talk to us about the process of collecting statements and seeing these things through on average. Like, maybe not now, maybe now. If you have, 5 annuities going at one time, how many of them make it to the finish line? I guess maybe then and now.
Yeah, excellent question. Excellent question. And just to your point, though, Mark, there's a difference, the only difference between the person who hasn't written annuities and myself is I have failed more.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's
There's
facts.
no other difference, I promise you.
Right.
But to that point, in the beginning, if you had 5 statements, 5 follow-up appointments, I would say that you're killing it if you write 2 annuities.
That's crushing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
How bad is it if you're only writing 1?
Not.
So let's go into this mindset a little bit.
Okay.
Not bad.
Not
So
at all.
tell me, why not? And
Okay, so here's why not. So knowing what I know about the space, okay, you're gonna find someone who it makes sense for. It could make sense for all 5.
Sure.
But you may not have that opportunity to show that. Okay.
Right.
So common things that go through the psychology of these people. I've known Joey since he was 14. That's my broker, right?
Joey.
I've always been told, and this is if you goofed up and you said the word annuity, right? I've always been told annuities are bad,
Right.
right? husband or wife says, let's just leave it where it is, anything that can come into play to kind of block you from that second appointment. If you've got two people that are all ears in the second appointment, and you have a general idea of what you're supposed to say when you go in there, and I mean very general,
Sure.
You're going to be fine.
Got it.
Another thing that can stop things, and sometimes you win this, sometimes you lose this, is the broker getting involved.
Right.
Sometimes that can happen, or the advisor getting involved. That can happen sometimes too. And another reason why it wouldn't happen would be perhaps they're new in an investment and there's way too high of a surrender charge and it's just not suitable.
Sure. Yeah.
There are things that can block it.
Sure.
So why not, again, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Love it.
Right? And why not collect as many statements as you can?
It's great.
It's a statement. It doesn't have anything personal on it,
Right.
You're not going to do anything with it.
Now, let's talk about this, the broker getting involved. You probably enjoy this now.
I am one.
You used to yeah, right? You are now a fiduciary from that standpoint. But you used to be were you ever afraid of the broker getting involved?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What was intimidating?
I got to take it back one. It's
great.
not about what's intimidating. This is the deal. So I have multiple streams of income. Okay, me sitting here right now. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
I've got insurance. I've got investments. I've got my leftover Medicare stuff. You know what I mean? I've got many streams of income.
Right.
Very generally put, the typical broker has one.
Got it.
Okay. And that being said, they have this book of business that they get paid a percentage of what's known as assets under management.
Yeah.
So the person has $50 million in assets under management. He wakes up January 1st with $175 annual salary. He's set.
Right.
He doesn't have to do much other than call, send some Harry and David at Christmas, some stuff like that.
Sure.
Not a whole lot to do. Well, then you come in. They're not used to dialing the phone. They're not used to getting in there and getting sales. They're not used to closing, right? And I'm talking about myself, really, but not. And then Julia, the insurance agent, comes in and sends transfer paperwork over to Bob and Sally's account, and this guy's up in arms. And I say guy because that's just the typical, but this guy's up in arms. Now he grabs his boxing gloves from under the desk and puts them on and gets ready to fight, and then puts fear and doubt of God into those clients, telling them that they are making the wrong decision. I don't even know what decision you're making, but it's wrong. I don't know what's really right for you, but it's wrong. And has it happened to me? Absolutely. Have I won some and lost some? Absolutely. Have I got on the phone with brokers? Absolutely.
So when did it become fun? This is what I want to know.
I think it became fun when the money didn't matter. And I'm
Yes.
being very honest
Yes.
because it's not that the money ever mattered, like I wasn't going to pay my bills. It was
Yeah, no,
more
you were
like...
gonna move into a cardboard box and lose your
right,
house.
yep, and drag it outside, yep. Yep.
That's an inside joke.
Yep.
Just keep
Yep.
rolling.
That's my visual. But that being said, and I do mean this, in the cases when I knew in my heart of hearts that they needed to get out of that situation, because you have people, you'll run into people that are living off that money.
Right.
Right. And then the market tanks 15%.
Right.
What do you do then?
Right.
Mr. Advisor. So my point is, it started to become fun as I educated myself more, and I only educated myself more from the beginning by listening to the advanced market calls.
Nice.
If you ever go to fflams.com and you peruse that site a little bit and you look, you pull up one article that says that this guy who won the Nobel Prize for Economic Research, that FIAs outperform bonds. Now you know more than 90% of the insurance agents that
That's
go
crazy.
after, right? Oh, well, he has us in bonds. Okay. Now I know to show you this article.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's when it started to become fun. The more information I had, the more I was just like, let me just sit back. You tell me what I need to say, because they will.
Dude, you're an encyclopedia. You're a clinic. Like I literally have enough. I have so much content. I keep running out of time with you.
It's
I'm like, there's so much I want
If I haven't proven it yet, I'm not going anywhere.
I got that. I'm just saying we appreciate it. I mean, it's just so much information in a good way because you keep going back to the origin. You keep going back to the beginning to remind people out there, like, you didn't show up like this. You started, the same way everyone else does. And you said, I equipped myself with the information. Mm-hmm. And that's over years, right? And you're still equipping yourself with information. So this is so good.
And I mean this. There were times where I never thought about leaving. But there were times that I really felt like giving up. You know what I mean? But what was the alternative, Mark?
Right.
Like, what was my alternative
That's
if
true.
I wanted to go to the Halloween party at school? If I wanted to be able to give my daughter these acting and modeling classes and the photo shoots and the competition? What's the alternative?
Right. That's fair.
What am I worth out there?
Right.
After taxes?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's legit. And the greatest thing about our business is you can make a really honest and an elite living doing this. I mean, keep tricking yourself like you have 1,000 options. That, to me, I'm like, that's just weird. Because a lot of people get in an industry to become an expert in that industry and continue to grow in that industry. And because our industry is commission only, and it takes a lot of psychology to keep yourself up, because I've thought about tapping out, right? But what's the alternative to tapping? And do you tap in life? Is that what we're doing?
Right.
Is that how we're modeling for our kids? Is this what we're doing? We're in the tapping business? Oh, wait. Right. We're in the optional tapping business. Yeah, right. Why don't just be in the insurance business? That would make sense. Let's just stay in the insurance business. Right. It's beating the rejection and the wear and tear of life, but that's every business. So why not be experts like Danielle is in this business?
Man, I like that, optional tapping. Like, you just have to, and you know what? Get yourself a morning routine. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care if it's 5 minutes. Get yourself a morning routine. Start to lay those pathways in your brain that start your day off on the right track. You always hear, say positive things, do affirmations. Guess what? It works.
It works.
Guess what? It works. I'm the first nerd to tell you. It works.
And you are a beast. Thank you for joining us again. But this is our first time in studio, so this was quite the honor.
I gotta come back.
You have to come back. And we thank you for joining us. Thanks for listening. DB, you're a machine. Appreciate you. God bless.